Today we're going to be talking about how to solve quadratic equations by the quadratic formula. Now first, you need to know what the quadratic formula is. It's negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Sing along. Negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a over 2a. Now listen. I know that sounds lame, but it helps me remember. And I actually heard a cooler version of this song the other day. If you can find me a cooler version, I would appreciate it. There was a version that was like boom, boom. Anyway, it was neat. I can't reproduce it, but let's talk about how we use this. So, quadratic formula, how do we use it? Well, the question is who's A, who's B, who's C? So in a quadratic equation, we look and the coefficient that's standing with x squared is a. And you say, Ms. Langford, there's nothing there. It must be 0. No, there's an understood 1. So in this quadratic equation, a is 1. Okay? The coefficient that's standing with x is b. And so that coefficient is negative 4. So b is negative 4. And the coefficient that bravely stands alone, it's not even a coefficient, it's a constant. That is negative 12. He or she is, I always think even numbers are she's, but that's just me. He or she is negative 12. Okay, so now let's take this information and let's plug it into the quadratic formula. So negative b is where we start. So negative 4. What would that be? That's a positive. So negative 4, I just write down positive 4 plus or minus square root b squared. Negative 4 squared. So negative 4 squared is 16. You say, Ms. Langford, I put it into my calculator and it tells me that it's negative 16. It's a syntax error. Your calculator is saying 4 squared times negative 1, but really negative 4 times negative 4 is positive 16. So b squared minus 4 times a times c. So I say 4 times 1 times negative 12 all over 2 times a. Okay, so I've put everyone in their places. Now it's time to tidy this up a little bit. So I have 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus, parentheses, negative 48, all over 2. Now, 16 minus negative 48, if you want to subtract, you add the opposite. This ends up being plus, 16 plus 48. So what is 16 plus 48? Again, my brain's working slow today because it's the end of the day, but I'm going to keep talking, and as I keep talking, I'm going to try to calculate in my head. It's 64. So I end up having 4 plus or minus the square root of 64 over 2. So square root of 64 is 8. So in the end, I have 4 plus 8 over 2 and 4 minus 8 over 2. Just like when we factor, we're going to end up having 2 answers. So 4 plus 8 over 2, that would be 12 divided by 2, which is 6. And 4 minus 8 is negative 4, divided by 2 is negative 2. So 6 and negative 2. Could you have factored this from the get-go? Yes, you could have. It would have been much better. But this is just a simpler example where you can see how this works. 6 and negative 2. Now I'm not going to work through another example just because we've done this before, but I do want to show you a couple things. Let's say that I do the work and I end up getting 7 plus or minus the square root of 27 over 2. Okay? The 64 was a nice, beautiful, perfect square that we could say, oh, the square root of that is 8. 27, blah, no, it's a perfect cube, but square root, But what you can do is you can change this to a decimal. I'm going to have to think of it in my head real quick. It would be approximately, I'm going to say 5.3, maybe 5.2. And then you could do the work from there. or you could just leave it like that. But for our Google form purposes, get it down to a decimal. Let's see. Another scenario that you need to know about is, let's say that we have 7 plus or minus square root 4 minus 4 times 2 times 1 all over 2. Okay, this ends up being 4 underneath. It ends up being 4 minus 8, which is negative 4. So you have 7 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 over 2. Ooh, what's wrong here? The square root of a negative. Oh, we're getting into imaginary numbers, and it's just not going to work on in what we have. So the answer is no solution. Watch out for the no solution ones. That means that that graph would never cross the x-axis. That graph might look something like that. Okay, hope you have a great day. If you have any trouble with this, let me know.